In this video, I'll show you the 5 categories where retirees spend most of their money, and the biggest one surprises most people. This is coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
Where do retirees spend most of their money? Well, you would think that question would be as hard to answer as how long is a piece of string, because people have different goals, wants, needs, aspirations, etc. As it turns out, the information is hiding in plain sight in the 2024 BLS data, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the real question is, how do you compare to the average? And just so everyone has clear information here, this information is per household, not per person. Most government data is set up that way. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start off with the smallest of the 5, entertainment. That number comes in at $3,025 a year, or $252 a month, and that represents about 5% of the average retiree's spending. Now, this is admittedly a small dollar amount compared to the other spending categories, but it's also one that's pretty easy to cut. Why is that? Society makes it easy for retirees to get free stuff. Colleges will give free courses if someone wants to audit a course, for example. That $2,000 course basically costs you the price of the textbook. There are retiree discounts everywhere, and a lot of things are just plain free. You can also arrange your own free entertainment. Think about things like Sunday dinners and rotating from house to house, as an example, or a standing Thursday night game night, or tennis at a public course. The entertainment is there, it just doesn't cost you anything. And one related point here, subscriptions. People have too many subscriptions. My guess is if you're like the average person, you have unused subscriptions. So pull your last bank statement, check it out, and if there are some that you aren't using, well, that's a great way to reduce your cost in this area. And many of the things that you pay for now have discounts simply by asking. Maybe you weren't retirement age when you subscribed to the service, and now that you actually are, a lot of times they will have rates for people over 65 as an example. And your local library, it's a gold mine. Many lend free streaming movies, audiobooks, and even passes to nearby museums and parks. It's all paid for by taxes. So using it costs you nothing extra. And for people who have a lot of free time in retirement, if you like to travel, consider going off-season. Even a few weeks can make a huge difference in the cost of the hotel and the airfare. Frankly, entertainment is the easiest category for you to win because the choices are all yours. Nothing is required. The second smallest is healthcare. Now, this is one that most people would have put way up there. Why? Because it's talked about all of the time. And don't get me wrong, healthcare in retirement is extremely important, but it's 2 out of 5. But for the average household out there, it sits at the bottom half of the list, $77.99 per person per year, or $650 a month. Now, it's real money. It's 13% of the average retiree's spending, but it's not the giant number that people talk about. One of the big reasons is Medicare. Medigap plans, Medicare Advantage plans, Part D prescription drug plans. These are the foundation of healthcare in retirement, and for most people, they're not that expensive. And the fact is, you may see a big hospital bill, but that hospital bill is paid for by someone else besides you, in a matter of speaking, because you still make the premium payments. So how do you keep your costs down in this area? Well, first, make sure that you align the plan you choose with your actual needs. If you know that you're going to have medical needs in the future because you've had medical needs in the past, or you know for other reasons, a low deductible plan with copays will beat a high deductible plan in most situations. Next are your prescriptions. Generic drugs almost always beat name brand prescriptions, and you can even order most of them through the mail. A 90-day supply might be 40 or 50% less if you order it through the mail than showing up at your local pharmacy. Finally, read your own plan. Understand what it covers, because a lot of people will have something denied and just assume that it wasn't covered when it was just coded wrong. It happens all of the time, and they pay for it out of their own pocket, and they don't have to. And another one that people should know about, what it costs inpatient versus outpatient. There are procedures that cost less if they're inpatient, and there are procedures that cost less if they're outpatient, simply because they fall into a different bucket. So understand how your plan works, because this is really important. And you can even plan in advance for an emergency. How do you do that? Well, you look at your neighboring hospitals and find out which ones take your insurance and what the copays are in those hospitals. When something happens, if something happens, then you're choosing on purpose instead of reacting to a situation. If the difference is 60 seconds one way versus the other, or a minute or two, it would be good to know the answer to which hospital takes my insurance and which one doesn't. And this is a great place for a quick word on health savings accounts. An HSA has a real triple tax advantage. The money goes in, grows, and comes out for medical costs in a tax-friendly manner. But it pairs with a high deductible plan, so it works best when your claims are low and you've built a cushion inside it. And understand what's covered for free or with a small copayment. For example, your annual wellness visit and many preventative screenings are covered for free. And catching a problem early is good for your health, and it helps slow down or eliminate a much bigger problem later on. And do not be shy about price. For planned tests and procedures, costs can vary wildly between providers, and you are allowed to ask the price ahead of time. A few phone calls can turn an unknown bill into a number you choose. Gang, Medicare can be confusing. It can be overwhelming. Ask anybody who's age 65 or older, and they will tell you that it's true. They'll spend hours of time analyzing all the different plans. They'll commit to the plan only to find out that they chose the wrong plan, and it costs them hundreds if not thousands of dollars a year. Now, on this channel, we have 3 affiliate relationships. One is our trusted Medicare partner, Chapter. Chapter is the only national advisor that looks at and recommends every plan. They're totally free to you. You don't pay more in premium for using them. They're really easy to work with, and it takes about 20 minutes of your time. They save their clients an average of $1,100 per year. If this is of interest to you, give them a call at 440-703-1224. Number 3 is food. That's $79.40 per year or $669 per month. It's roughly 13% of the annual spend of the average retirement household. Now, there's a far better way to cut this cost than clipping coupons. Yes, that's good too, but I want to make things easy for you. And so just know this. There's a lot of wasted food in the average kitchen. Something like 30 to 40% of food purchased goes into the garbage. It never gets used. And this problem is compounded because the most expensive food purchases are the things that spoil the earliest. Things like meat and dairy will expire within a week or two, sometimes even a few days. It just depends on the item, I suppose. So here is the easy fix, and it's kind of fun too. Instead of going and buying a dozen bagels once a week, go every couple of days and buy 2 or 3. The same with everything that you buy. Buy in much smaller quantities and buy what you're going to use. And at the same time, you get to get out of the house more often. And here's a small trick with your list that helps. Split your list into 2. Put the perishable items on top and the staple items on the bottom. Now, why do you do that? Because you're not hunting around for what may be expiring and what isn't expiring. You know by putting the perishable items on top that those are the ones you need to focus your attention on. The third win is store brands. Now, I know people have very mixed views on this, but they do work. And if you go to a place like Whole Foods, their 365 brand is a private label brand, and people rave about it. In fact, people aren't buying it to save money. They're buying it because they trust the store brand. Many store brands are made in the same factories as brand manufacturers. They just have a different label put on. And knowing that can save you 15, 20, 25% on the cost of the item, maybe more. And in a blind test, most people can't tell the difference. I know that people say, well, this one tastes worse than the other, but try it. Bring home a store brand of your favorite vegetable and the actual branded version of it. Put it in front of somebody and have them taste the difference between the two and see if they can tell you the difference. Buying in season helps too. Produce at its peak costs less, generally speaking, than buying the same thing off season. Why? Because they have to fly it in from a part of the world where it's in season. So what do people do if it's off season? Well, a lot of times they just don't buy it. They'll buy something that is in season. Or they'll buy something that's in season and freeze it until it's time to use it. One last habit, one that I will tell you a secret on, check the unit price. Now, if you go to most stores, you'll notice that the price is in white with black lettering, and the unit price has something like a red background with black lettering. Now, why is that? They don't want the unit price to stand out, but they are required by law to give you the unit price. That's not always the case, but in a lot of stores, that's how they do it. And not surprisingly, the things that are eye level are generally the most expensive, so it pays to look up and down the shelf. Number 4 is transportation, $95.38 a year or $7.95 a month. That's roughly 16% of someone's annual spend. This covers your car payment and repairs, insurance, fuel, and public transit. We'll focus on cars first because public transit is what it is. Let's start with fuel. The cost of a gallon of gas can vary from station to station. In my own area, if I drive 3 miles one way, gas is $1 less per gallon than if I drive 3 miles the other. In fact, there's one station that's $3 more per gallon than everybody else in the area. They don't get a lot of people buying fuel from them, but the occasional desperate buyer will pull in and pump 4 or 5 gallons and then go to another station. And if two stations are 50 cents difference per gallon, which is quite regular actually in many areas, and you pick the lower one, well, over the course of a year, if you fill up, say, weekly, that becomes a really large number. And insurance, this is a big one because there are two factors here. One is price, of course, and the other is how they pay their claims. Insurance companies pay claims either really well or intentionally, in my opinion, not so well. The ones that pay not so well will often delay. They'll push your claim back weeks or even months into the future, and then they'll send you a letter either asking for more information or denying it based on information that you thought was included, but they said wasn't included. So before you shop just on price, read the complaints of the insurance companies that you're considering. The internet makes it really easy to find these now. And then compare prices both bundled and separate, because some insurance companies will give you a discount if you bundle everything together. Some will say that, and they're actually more expensive than keeping them split apart. So check it out both ways, because both ways actually do happen. It's not universal that when you bundle, you get a better price. If you drive very few miles, tell your insurance company that. A lot of retired people don't drive very far. If that's the case, you may qualify for a lower rate. And on the car itself, a gently used car usually beats a brand new one. Cars depreciate quickly but age slowly. So buying one that's taken most of the depreciation hit but with a lot of life left in it is usually a pretty good deal. And some retirees don't need a car at all. In cities with high insurance and parking costs like New York City, a lot of people just forego the car completely and they use something like Zip cars. This isn't an ad for Zip cars, by the way. We have no affiliation with them. We're not getting paid to mention their name. It's just a data point for people to use. But the fact is, if you rarely drive, owning a car for a lot of reasons might not make sense. You have to still pay for the car. You have to pay for parking for the car. You have to pay for insurance on the car. And a rental, even if it's expensive for one trip, oftentimes can be less per month than that car maintenance and payment. And if you use your credit card for rental insurance, know the limits, know what's covered and what's not. And also know that if you lend the rental car to someone else, there's a good chance it won't be covered on your credit card if something happens. And maintenance, believe it or not, is its own kind of savings. Spending money on maintenance means that you won't be spending money on bigger expenses later. That's almost universally true, by the way, with really expensive things. It's not 100% true, but with things like your house or your car, it's better to maintain, generally speaking, than to wait for something to go wrong and then fix the big repair. Gang, how prepared are you for retirement, really? Most people think they're more prepared than they really are. That's why I put together the Retirement Readiness Quiz. The quiz is 15 questions, takes about 2 minutes, and it covers 12 key areas. The best part, it's absolutely free. No credit card, no phone number, nothing like that. If you're interested in the quiz, simply go to holyschmidt.com/quiz, fill out the questions, and it'll be sent to you instantly. You'll also be put on our list and get tips, tricks, and other information 2 or 3 times a week. And number 5, the biggest cost by far, housing. The average 65-plus household spends about $22,193 a year, or $1,849 a month on housing. That's roughly 36% of the total spend, which is more than the combination of the next 2 largest categories combined. This is one of the reasons that people guess wrong, because they think health care is going to be expensive, but housing dwarfs that number. Housing includes your mortgage, if you still have one, maintenance, utilities, taxes, and insurance. And because it's the largest, small improvements here move the needle the most. Now, the standard advice, particularly if you're going into retirement with a mortgage, is pay off the mortgage as soon as you can. It's good advice as long as it's measured. You probably don't want to drain your retirement accounts to pay off your mortgage, as an example. There's so many reasons for this, but one of the big ones is that it can cause tax problems. So treat the payoff as a goal and work towards that goal. The easier one may be downsizing. It depends on how you do it, of course. But if you've got a 4,000 square foot home and you downsize to a 2,000 square foot home, then a lot of the bills, everything else being equal, would reduce proportionally. Now, if you go from living in Maine to Palm Beach, Florida, well, that's a different story altogether. Some people consider a 55 plus community. Other people will never live in a 55 plus community. It depends on who you talk to. But one of the things about these communities is that a single payment spreads landscaping, maintenance, and shared upkeep costs across dozens or hundreds of households, which can bring the per household cost down significantly. And if you want to stay exactly where you are, talk to your tax office, because many communities offer tax relief if you're above a certain age, and the rationale is logical. The kids aren't there. They're not consuming the education system, which costs money and taxes. And so therefore, in some communities, they will lower your taxes. Finally, if your home is older, get the big ticket items fixed first before you retire if possible. Think about things like your HVAC system, your roof, and other modern appliances. Many utilities have room to help you as well. Some offer level pay systems so you don't have big spikes in the winter and in the summer. Some offer a free energy audit, and those audits often point to cheap fixes like just putting in insulation or using caulking someplace to plug a hole. And shop your homeowner's insurance the way you shop your auto insurance. Many times you can reduce the cost simply by getting a quote from someplace else. And if you have extra space, consider renting a room to someone and getting extra rent. You're paying to heat the space anyway, so why not monetize it? So here's the whole plan in a nutshell. 5 areas make up about 82% of what the average retiree spends. Entertainment is small and easy to trim with deals for those that are 65 plus often. Healthcare is smaller than most people fear, so match your plan, use generics, and know your coverage. Food savings comes primarily from waste, so shop often, buy less, and try store brands. Transportation rewards smart fuel and insurance choices and renting over owning if you rarely drive. And housing, 36% of the average retiree household spend, responds well to a lot of different options like moving to a smaller home, moving to a community where a lot of the care on the outside is taken care of, bringing in a renter, etc. And by the way, nothing that we talk about is recommending that you live smaller. It's showing you options so that you can spend smarter. If you like this video, check out that video, The 6 Levels of Income in Retirement. Also, don't forget to talk to our partner chapter, 440-703-1224, if you have questions about Medicare. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.